7:33, everybody, and chaos on Canal Street as federal agents carry out a joint immigration and customs enforcement crackdown.
Yeah, it all went down in Chinatown, where an unconfirmed number of people were detained. Weighing in on yesterday's raids in New York City is public advocate Jumaane Williams. So good morning to you. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning.
Good morning. Morning. Thanks for providing the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the video from here. A lot of folks there on the ground. It was chaotic. At this time, do you know how many people were actually detained?
Well, first I want folks to understand that the full weight of the federal government, the military style response that we saw with looked like tanks on the street, armed federal agents, was simply about street vending. And so this is one of the reasons we also say, let's not over criminalize as we try to address certain concerns, certain issues, because this can be the result, particularly with a simple-minded president. We don't have the exact numbers. The last number I heard was between 9 and say 11 in the federal arrest that happened before the protests at night, and between 2 and 4 in the NYPD custody, which was a different protest. So I do want to make that clear.
Yeah,
were they released?
I'm not sure yet. Still trying to find out. The federal government one is the one that has the most obscurity and provides the least information. So I've spoken to the police commissioner, Senator Gillibrand, Congressmember Clark, all trying to get information to make sure that folks have the legal representation they have rights to.
Yeah, public advocate, you were talking about how they were targeting vendors allegedly selling these counterfeit goods, right? And it wasn't a surprise that was going to be the tactic. It was known that they were going to go after what was happening on Canal Street, but it was the way they went about it this go around. So can you talk about the juxtaposition of what we saw play out with the agents, the ICE agents, and then the NYPD response as well?
Yeah, so, this is what we try to say, that this has never been about public safety. So just to be clear, this wasn't about any hardened criminals that they've been speaking about. This is about a show of force. Black street vendors in particular who were targeted, from what we understand, based on a social media post. And how simple the president is, I'm not surprised by that. Based on a social media post that targeted this area, they let media know this was going to happen. So this was a very, very planned and coordinated effort for street vending. The PD, from what we understand, did not coordinate at this particular moment, but they did deal with some of the protests that happened afterwards. I think everyone is doing their best to make sure that there's no excuse given for additional harm to come to New York. We may be prolonging the inevitable, but the president now has some new weapons that he wants to practice on the cities. And so I'm hoping that New Yorkers are understanding how dire the situation is and really join us in pushing back on this authoritarian tactic for the full weight of the federal government to come in military style for something that we know has been going on for a while. So we do and have been trying to work with agencies and advocacy groups to address these issues. But it's one of the reasons we asked the mayor not to over-criminalize, because it provides an excuse for this type of behavior.
So you believe this is going to be the first of many?
I believe that regardless of what happens in a couple of weeks, the simple-minded president has said he wants to practice military-style exercises in cities. New York City is one of the ones that's on his target. So we want to do the best that we can, working together, including New Yorkers who come out to push back. Our big message is not to engage in a way that is going to provide an excuse for them to cause further harm. I think at some point it's inevitable. I am glad in a few months that we'll have a mayor, I believe, that will care about what's happening on Canal Street and really join in helping protect New Yorkers, all New Yorkers.
So going after illegal street vendors is not new, right? But it's the style, I guess, this time that caught everybody by surprise. You mentioned the new administration that's coming in, potentially, depending on who wins the election, right? What is the answer to stop something like that? Can a local mayor stop a federal agent from coming onto the streets of New York City?
Well, let's be clear. New York City's been dealing with illegal vending for hundreds of years. This is not a new issue. But we do have some bills in the council. We have been working with the street vending project to try to find some ways to prevent the concerns, which there are, of New Yorkers with some of the street vending. So there's an issue that we're hoping the next mayor will work with us to actually get done instead of over-criminalized. I think whoever the mayor is, one of the best things that they can do is really show New Yorkers that we're going to use the powers that we have locally. And there are some, There's not as much as we like, but I think there should be kind of a presence from the mayor, from the governor, saying we're going to do all the things that we can to protect New Yorkers. We understand it's not about public safety.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. The only thing, and I'm pushed back just a tiny bit, only because we're seeing it play out in other places where they've already experienced that, right? Portland, Oregon, for example, they went the lawsuit route and it was still allowed to happen. So for a New Yorker who's looking at it, saying, well, what can my elected leaders do, if anything, or just kind of yell from the rooftop?
Well, one, I don't want to downplay New Yorkers seeing their leadership pushing back, because right now, from the mayor, they haven't seen that. It is important that New Yorkers see that we use every tool possible. You saw Congresswoman Goldman, a public advocate, myself, and the Comptroller Brad Lander were telling the police commissioner, at minimum, she should be saying, if we see illegal behavior from federal agents, we're going to enforce the law. I and others sent a letter asking the mayor to have the buildings department do their best to try to inspect 26 Federal Plaza. One of the things that I think people would like to see is us at least trying, maybe not succeeding, but doing nothing doesn't make any sense. And that's one of the things folks have been seeing, and part of my frustration. This president wants to hold New York City by gunpoint to be as bigoted and evil as he is. Yeah. And we have to resist that with all the tools that we have. And I haven't seen that from this mayor. I'm hoping the next one will join us elected officials and advocates and invite New Yorkers to participate in a way that doesn't initiate any further harm.
Yeah, I mean, well, the governor spoke out yesterday saying that she posted a response to the raids saying, @Real Donald Trump claims he's targeting the worst of the worst. Today's agents use batons and pepper spray on street vendors and bystanders in Canal Street. You don't make New York safer by attacking New Yorkers. What are your thoughts on that?
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct, and I'm thankful. For flagging that bystanders were there as well. You had people who weren't doing any street vending who just got caught up in the pepper spray and the batons and the violence that they came with. This came with a huge show of force, and I need people to understand that this show of force was simply for street vending. What we see is that no one is safe when this response is happening. And if what the minimum thing that we can do is speak up and speak out, then we should do that. So I'm hoping the next mayor will join the governor and do that. We'll also join the governor in strategically planning what our response can be. I do know there's a lot of advocacy groups and New Yorkers on the ground figuring out what we can do to help push back and learning from some of those other cities that you spoke of.
And we all got to go. We're out of time here. But just to reiterate, the folks who were arrested on the federal side, much like we've kind of saw play out at the courthouse, they're taken to an unknown location?
As far as the last information I got last night is that they were at 26 Federal Plaza. But when these folks are kidnapped this way, they don't even provide information to the local authorities in the way that you would think.
All right. Public Advocate, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
It's 7:42 right now. Be sure to stay with us here on Pix 11. We'll be following these ICE raids on air and online throughout the morning.